Hey everyone, thanks for joining today's live stream. I'm going to go over the new Botcamp site and kind of recap the demo day. Basically, in the last demo day, we had about 30 folks become Botcamp members. About 10 of them got certified by submitting the strategy in demo day. In the new strategies tab in the Botcamp site, so for example, this strategy was created by Alexia, who ran a modified version of the Bollinger strategy. The code we're not making available publicly, but it is available only to Botcamp members. And then we also have a members tab. Fede and I are on here as well. So here's my profile. The profile for each member lists the strategies they have added. So essentially, we've had like kind of over 90 or 100 strategies submitted now, and over about 300 people have taken Botcamp. We want to make sure that they have the ability to keep their strategies private if they want. So that's why for most of these strategies, the code is private. Let me actually show the strategy that won the MVP at Cohort 12. It's called the TradingView Hummingbot Webhook Trading Strategy by Todd. This is actually a fairly long video. I'll just play a few snippets of it. Overall, I think both Fede and I were really impressed by what Todd built because yeah, this type of system is exactly what we envision people can build with Hummingbot.
Hi there, my name is Todd Grant. What our overall goal is to have a trading system that enables both decentralized and centralized exchange execution trades. We're using the Gateway 2.9 framework. It's been recently updated using the JSON files rather than the YAML files, which has been very helpful. We have a MQTT broker, which translates the information from TradingView into signals that Hummingbot can read. So I'm really happy to see this up and going. I've been able to reliably have signals run 24/7 for several days now.
Just pause here before I proceed. Todd did have a bit of an edge on the other students here because he had already been using Hummingbot for a while before he joined the Botcamp cohort. So he didn't build all of this within Botcamp, but he did, I think, build a lot of the DEX pieces in Botcamp, connected the whole system together.
Then there's the webhook bridge server, which is purely Python. And then I want to spend some time on the Hummingbot execution piece. And we've got that running live. And I'll also execute some simulated trades with live webhook examples. And then we can do a brief, we can show the code. It's up there on GitHub with the link. But I wanted to make sure that we covered these high level areas, the alert system, the bridge server, and then the execution engine. At a TradingView level, let's pull up an example of what happened actually today with Bitcoin. We had a really nice move up. We had a signal within the trading system that I use in TradingView, and we have a buy signal and a sell signal. And so what I do is that's straightforward. Have a signal that is generated using their webhook system and alerts, and then a sell system also in the alerts. And over here on the right, you'll see I have 4 different token pairs that I'm working with right now. Coinbase, AVAX versus USDC. On Solana, I've got Radium versus USDC, and on Uniswap, the Arbitrum network, I have Rep Bitcoin versus USDC and Ethereum versus USDC. And these are live trades. These are live production, what I consider anyway, in just production testing. Let's take just a quick look at one of these. The idea is that we can easily create these trading pairs. Again, this is a critical issue in the code for TradingView, and that'll be for another day, but I just want to briefly explain where all of these initial signals come from within TradingView. And then we have the webhook URL. What essentially we do in TradingView is create a text file. It's in the JSON format. It's very straightforward. It's identified right up there in the TradingView, the flow document that I have. The text file is created and sent to a webhook server, and then it tunnels to the local computer. And it's actually proven to be quite robust. I've been very pleased with how this is working. Again, I want to move there's quite a lot about the TradingView system, how it works and so forth, but the takeaway from this is that there's a JSON formatted file. It's essentially a text file that gets sent over to the local computer, and then we process that signal in Hummingbot. So let's pull up the hub repository and graphically look and see what I'm talking about here. So we just saw the buy and sell signals in TradingView. You're going to set that up as an alert. And then this is that file. It's just really straightforward, a text file, but it's going to be properly formatted with what you want to do with the Hummingbot framework. So in this case, as an example, I have here, we have a buy, we're buying Bitcoin, USDC, we're buying our Uniswap, Arbitrum, and then we're using a concentrated liquidity pool. So this is all codified, it's configurable in the TradingView system. It's FineScript code, and that is written. And what you do is it ends up sending it to the webhook server. It validates it whether it follows the guidelines that we've set here or not. And I also have it to create an API key for trading so that nobody, it's very difficult just to send a bunch of buy and sell signals. You've got to actually pass through an API key, and that's self-generated. If it's validated, then it gets sent down to the webhook bridge server. This is just a Python web server that has valid keys that we check against in order to transfer that over to the Hummingbot framework. Take a look at this just real quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time on the bridge server process because I want to actually get right into the signal generation and piece the portions of the code that we have there and actually see some live trades because it is up and running. I'm leaving it up and running 24/7. So it's very excited about that. So then we go through a decision, whether it's in this case, I have Coinbase that we're using with the Coinbase controller, and then I'm using Gateway 2.9 with the latest JSON file configuration. If it's a DEX trade, if it's a Solana on Radium or Meteora or Jupiter, we go down this path. It's on Coinbase, we go down this.
I want to mention that I'm really glad that that Todd did this work of kind of like creating this routing logic because it's something that I think is important to be able to kind of like just do a trade, let Hummingbot or some type of some API handle, whether it's a SEX or a DEX, and handle that differently. So we're actually in the process of building this into the Hummingbot API right now. Basically, we're integrating Gateway into the API so that you can place DEX orders and SEX orders via the API. Todd was able to do it. We don't want all the users out there having to do this yourself.
And then we execute and then move on. We go back and look for another signal. What I like about this is it's very RPC light. It only invokes the volume that you see on your RPC end nodes when there's a trade or when you're looking for just some basic pricing. So it's very light on RPC. Some of the other techniques that I've looked at have been very heavy on the RPC, on the nodes, and you exceed your volume that you're allowed and so forth. This is very light because TradingView takes care of all of that. You're really just looking at those signals that they've already addressed.
This is actually a very important point. Your interaction with the blockchain is always governed by the quality and the latency of your RPC node. So and it can get very expensive if you're kind of like approaching it like from a traditional HFT perspective, where you're kind of polling, for updates like every second or something like that. So as Todd mentions, this format, and I think this is the right structure right now, is to approach Gateway or even Hummingbot as the execution layer. I think approaching Gateway as the execution layer and then fetching the data that you use to trigger a swap from some other external source. So in Todd's example, it's TradingView. I'm going to skip a bit later on in the video.
Let's actually create a trade and see it actually execute on. This would be executing on Uniswap DEX on Arbitrum, and it's using their concentrated liquidity pool. Let's go through here and click that. And we have a buy here, roughly $10, and we have a successful trade that happened very quickly. Uniswap has been very reliable. On the Arbiscan, you can see the actual hash. There it is right there. I coded that. That is coded so that it actually goes out and pulls it in, so you don't have to go out and check. It's actually verified and pulled from the blockchain. There it is, right there. There's the Bitcoin right there. We've got roughly $10, so we're successful. That was a successful buy. Now let's go through and do a successful sell. It was successful. There it is. It's on the blockchain. It's validated on Arbiscan, and it shows up in our status. Now let's refresh. And now we do not have Bitcoin. Yep, there we did. We sold it. All right. So now let's demonstrate the same thing where we are buying on Jupiter in order to handle gas fees. We have a minimum amount of that, and I've coded that into the strategy also to leave the minimum. Solana is a little different. You've got to leave some in there. So let's go through and execute a buy. This is a real simulation of a buy signal from TradingView that ultimately ends up with a real trade. And that has been a key part of getting through a lot of the trial and error of getting this working reliably. All right, so we're buying Sol with Jupiter, and you can see up here in the upper right-hand corner, this is Gateway, by the way. Upper left is over here is the bridge. This is ensuring that the signals come through are correct. Then over here in the lower right is the webhook strategy, and then up in the upper right-hand corner is the gateway information, the log file. So it's happening. What gateway is telling us that it's doing? It's telling us that it's executed the swap. The transaction hash is here. We've calculated. See, I pull the actual blockchain soul scan information right into the strategy, so you can see it and have confidence that it actually happened. And let's now go into let's pull up our wallets, make sure that we've actually purchased Sol. We started with 14, we started with 4 and we ended up with 14. And then the idea is that we would then turn around and sell the Sol, but we need to make sure that we leave a certain amount, and I've had that as an environment variable so that you always have enough Sol left when you sell your position. So now let's sell our Sol here, and we're going to use Jupiter. We're going to sell that, and you can see we're up in the upper right hand corner. We have the gateway tell us what it's doing. Upper left hand corner we have the signal. Right, this is the middle part of what's telling. We have what Hummingbot is telling us, and we have the actual Soul Scan Explorer that's telling us what the transaction that was successful. And now we have an update on our status. Let's see, we have 8 trades in this since I started the strategy, and it's telling us what all the positions are and what the success rate is and so forth that we worked through. So that is a demonstration. We have those are 2 different networks. We have Uniswap, we have Solana.
We were really impressed overall with what Todd built. It's a great example of how essentially you can take Hummingbot, use only the parts that you need, and use it to build essentially a personal trading system. I think the code for this strategy is not yet public. We wanted to leave the option to make a strategy code public to the actual Botcamp members. When the strategy is live, we're going to have a form that Botcamp members can use to update their profiles and to update their strategy info. If you're in Botcamp, you can choose to make your strategy kind of like private, where it only shows the title and the description. I want to show this one from Max, where he analyzed the Meteora pools using Quants-Lab.
Hi everyone, this is something I built leveraging the Quants-Lab framework within the Hummingbot product. This notebook intends to have 3 key use cases. First of all, it's going to help liquidity provision, giving kind of an optimal window of price, range of prices where market makers can optimize their fee collection, seeking for ranges which are less exploited by other market makers. The second use case of this notebook is to detect anomalies and manipulation risks. So it identifies liquidity distribution anomalies and potential market to understand if it's very concentrated, or there are risks of manipulation, or there is a risk of a rug pull potentially. And the third use case is to test potentially with this framework high frequency strategies. So it provides a framework to quickly test the high frequency trading strategies, offering kind of a simple initial feedback on whether the order placement the algorithm use is easily detected. So the notebook is structured, as said, in different parts. There are different cells and different snippets. So the first part is gonna basically give you an overview of the Meteora dynamic liquid market making pools. And the second part we will show, so this is really the setup configuration, where basically you establish, you import your libraries, you load environment variables, and it sets up the scene for further analysis. So when this runs correctly, it's going to tell you what is the network, what is the gateway URL, and basically it loads the Telegram token and the chat ID. Because at the end, as we will see, there is going to be a connection to Telegram to really post and send periodically this report that is not produced. The second part is more Meteora pool discovery. So here we set a threshold in terms of minimum liquidity that the pool should have, and we set up top 10. So we analyze basically 10 of the largest pools, but this can be configured by the notebook user to feed their needs. And here the output of this is going to be more general statistics about the protocol. So it's going to give you kind of the total TVL for top pools, total volume for the last 24 hours, fees, average API, the number of active pools, and also the capital efficiency with regards to the daily turnover on par. Then, using as well more public API endpoints, we analyze more pool groups by building a bin step strategy guide. And the output of this is going to be basically comparing different bin layout and setup for different tokens. So the output is basically a guide through what are the different pools available for the top tokens or the tokens that the user of this notebook is interested in.
I do want to mention that this notebook is already something that you can replicate. If you look at the Quants-Lab repository, I think there's an already example. It's Telegram Meteora pool report. But overall, I think this type of analysis you can do with Gateway because we're using the actual pool SDKs and we have more access to lower level information than some of the external data sources out there.
Then if we jump into the following, here also we plot some distribution analysis, really high level. Here we're gonna basically display what is the TVL distribution across different liquidity pool size. We're gonna also see the distribution over the last 24 hours in terms of volumes. As you can see, basically the liquidity in terms of volumes and TVL. There is also a report with regards to the APY distribution. And with that, it comes as well a quick summary of the main findings of this snippet. The third part is going to be about basically tracking the liquidity provision movement patterns. And the goal here is to try to understand if there are big migration in terms of TVL across main liquidity pools. And it can be very interesting to understand this dynamic because on one side, the big growth in TVL may basically be a signal of increasing returns in terms of liquidity provision, but also can be a warning sign if TVL gets as well, producing some charts explaining in this example Trump token versus USDC, this pool in terms of Sol USDC, and another high APY normal Sol in terms of TVL development over the last set of days. Here I've been setting it to 90 days, but this can be configured to different time window that may suit the user. This part is about swap analysis, and here is about finding the optimal tool for your trade size. And the output of this snippet is going to show what are basically the best pools given a certain size, and also is going to show as well what would be the impact in terms of slippage trading across these specific liquidity pools. Again, in the next cell, we dive a bit deeper again in TVL migration analysis, and here is about fees.
Overall, I personally was really impressed by the customization here because using the data that Gateway provides, which is bin distribution, basically the liquidity amounts in every bin in a Meteora range, he could do a lot. He could analyze APYs, he could basically fetch any type of data he wanted and create that using this notebook. We're actually going to be doing a lot more with Quants-Lab in the future and really making it like a core repository. It's a more flexible way of analyzing, because I think Hummingbot is great for high frequency trading, where you're trying to stream data from an order book or automate some process where you're trying to trade very quickly. But there's a lot of trading which is lower frequency. Plus, the type of visualizations you can do is really impressive. What a strategy with code looks like. So basically, we'll have an admin section like this with a passphrase that I'll be changing after this video. But our admin team will basically accept forms from Botcamp students and then use that to update their profiles. In addition, students will also be able to submit strategy updates. So for example, let's say if I want to update my strategy, I could submit a strategy update form for this one, which is mine. We should probably add an author here instead of past student. But yeah, this is my strategy. So I'm gonna add the show code button here because the code is already public. So I'm gonna save that. And I'm also gonna update a few other videos which are public. Like this one was created by Fede. This is the fundamental arbitrage video that he did. So I'm gonna do the show code button there. Yeah, once I do that, let's go back to the site. The strategies tab, the code public filter will show this. So for example, in the fundamental arbitrage video, in this one, you can watch the video and you can also view the code for the strategy over here on the website, as well as the guide for that video. Basically, what we'll allow every Botcamp member to do, number one, if they haven't submitted a strategy yet, they can do so. So every member has essentially a lifetime pass to submit a strategy and get it reviewed and get their certification. Once you submit a strategy, what you'll submit is essentially the video and the code and the guide. The guide is optional, but we definitely need the code and the video. And actually, the guide is basically the template. If you're submitting the strategy, we probably need a template, but otherwise the guide will actually also suffice. Yeah, we want to try to encourage people who've taken Botcamp to, number one, if they want to, make their strategies codes public, and also if they haven't submitted a strategy yet, they can. So yeah, Victor, for example, Victor actually probably has a strategy. He's actually created the initial Uniswap connector for Gateway. He just created the PancakeSwap connector, and I'm sure he has some strategies that he has already worked on himself that's using these connectors he's built. So if you haven't submitted a strategy, you'll see a message for a user like this. Victor was actually a mentor in Cohort 1, and he has a lifetime option to submit a strategy for certification. So there'll be a Google form that you fill out, and then that will allow you to submit a strategy. Once you submit a strategy, our team will review it and we'll add it to the database if it passes muster. This is basically kind of like the experience for members, but we do want to encourage kind of like as many members as possible to make their strategy code public, because we do think that kind of like we want to kind of have as many code public videos as possible to allow anyone out there to kind of like test out the strategies, extend them. I'll make all my strategies public. I'm sure Fade will too. I think what this effort is really about kind of taking all the information, all the effort that Botcamp students have created over the past couple of years and just making it sortable, making it discoverable, taggable by exchange used, taggable by strategy type, those kind of things to help everyone out there discover what's possible with Hummingbot. Finally, I also want to mention that we also incorporated some of the member testimonials that people have added over the years. So for example, Alan was a member in Cohort 1, so he created this VWAP market making strategy, but he's also kind enough to submit a testimonial.
I'm Alan Capola. In the last 6 months in Hot Chili Analytics, we were looking at trying to do some reinforcement learning for market making in crypto. Our initial plan on the market making was to try to apply some new technology in the case of reinforcement learning and see where that goes. And so this is kind of where I wanted to be able to learn how to develop in the Hummingbot platform, because the goals that I had to do reinforcement learning on the Hummingbot platform would involve me doing more than using someone else's script. I wasn't looking to figure out how to use the existing scripts to make money, which is fine. I mean, so my goals were to learn how to develop. I needed to know how to install it, how to debug the script, how to capture input and output data and how that's done. And so I feel like I achieved those goals, that I did learn how to develop in the Hummingbot platform.
We'll have the member profiles page, but we'll try to highlight the folks who've submitted testimonials. So finally, we have the cohorts page, which has recaps of all the past cohorts. So if you want to see a recap of cohort 12, for example, the cohort 12 page has basically the cohort strategies. There's also some really cool other videos. Please check out this page. I thought this strategy by Joris was really cool. He actually built a Camino connector that doesn't exist right now in Gateway to be able to leverage this to be able to create the strategy. Overall, what was exciting about cohort 12 to me, we really saw kind of people using more than just the simple Hummingbot client. We saw people using Quants-Lab to create Python notebooks. We saw a lot of people using Gateway and integrating DEXs into their strategies. And so to us, it was a kind of validation of the fact that Hummingbot is no longer just a simple command line tool, but it's more like a framework where you can do lots of different things and fill basically any need that an algo trader might have. Finally, I want to mention we have started to open up registration for cohort 13. So cohort 13 will be starting in April 2026. And the reason it's a little bit later this year because we want to have space to really fine-tune Hummingbot, add to the framework, and do things like improving integration between gateway and API, improving the overall accessibility of the API, how it integrates to AI tools via the MCP server, allowing the framework to mature better. Overall, I think 2 cohort a year structure, I think makes sense because it does allow us to make every cohort utilize the newest features of the framework. We have already opened up enrollment. This enrollment page is live. And the way the pricing works, we're going to accept 20 people in the early bird. We'll try to cap attendance at 50 at the regular rate. If you're interested, please sign up for early bird. We're ending sales on at the end of the year. I should also mention that if you do sign up for cohort 13, you get access to all the live sessions for cohort 12. 12 live sessions plus demo day. Each one is about 2 hours long. So I think you'll get a chance to see kind of like, or to experience what it's like to be in a cohort as soon as you sign up if you want to just watch the videos. The certification page, this list, we're going to remove the concept of a certification type, and instead this will be a link to each person's profile on the Botcamp site. Basically, we've done 12 cohorts, but I think that each one is actually getting better and better. We have raised the pricing for cohort 13. I think that, I'm pretty sure if you ask the students, they'll say it's justified. We've expanded the number of sessions, and we're hoping that the ability to create a profile and add a strategy, this becomes kind of like your algo trading resume. Victoria is actually one of our longtime community members. She actually did a testimonial here. She actually maintains her own Substack. That's why we've added the option for users to add their GitHub if they want, their Discord username, and a website. So here's Victoria's website, her Substack, where she conducts experiments using Hummingbot. We're hopeful that this kind of page helps Victoria in her career somehow. All right, well, yeah, I hope that helped everyone understand how this works. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.